It's now time for Defining Words with me, Brian. Hi friends, let's learn a new word. Today's word is pwn. Pwn. Say it with me. Pwn. According to Urban Dictionary, pwn is an act of dominating an opponent, or great, ingenious. Now, let's use it in a sentence. Whenever I play board games with Will, I always pwn him. Pwn. And now, let's get to today's board game. Today's board game is Pwns. In the game of Pwns, you are trying to be the only person on the board with any surviving Pwns. You'll be trying to knock out all of your opponents and blow them up, burn them up, any way you can get rid of your opponent's pieces. So to start the game, you're going to pick one color. You're going to grab all of their cards that are associated with them. Each one has a little bit of a personality type, but doesn't affect the game, so it doesn't matter. So if you're playing blue, blue doesn't have an advantage over a different color. Green doesn't have a disadvantage against another color. It's just there for flavor of the game. So you will take each card that represents your Pwns. Then you will also take a little health marker and place it on 5 on each of your Pwns, because 5 is the maximum hit points that you can have generally in the game. As you can see, there is a 6 hit point place on each card, but there are specific cards that allow you to go above the normal threshold of life. Then, on the board here, if you look closely, there is a slightly shaded area. Now, this slightly shaded area helps define what your starting area is. So your starting area is always the middle 6 squares and the row closest to you, and then the next row, the middle 4 squares. But before you go ahead and place your Pwns, you got to go ahead and you got to place some starting tiles. So these are what the starting tiles look like. They are front and back, and they have different types of terrain that are on them. So there is the grass terrain, there is dirt terrain, there is dry grass terrain, and then there's also water terrain. Now, I'll explain some of the differences between these in just a second. Let's go ahead and place the main board. So I have 5 tiles here, so I'm going to give them a shuffle. Only 4 of them are going to go on there. I can flip a few of them over, doesn't really matter. And we're just going to use 1, 2, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to use these 4. So we're just going to place them out here, just like so. And now everybody can go ahead and pick their starting positions. So remember, it's the first 6, or the middle 6, and the middle 4. So we'll go ahead and place all of our people out. So everybody has their pieces out. Then you're going to go to the deck of cards, and depending on how many players are playing, that'll determine how many cards you get and what the maximum hand size is. I have here set up for a 4-player game, so the maximum hand size is going to be 3 cards. So everybody's going to go ahead and get a first hand of 3 cards. Then you can go ahead and you can roll the die to determine who the first player is. Once you've done that, you have a couple things you will do on your turn. The first thing you will do is you have 3 squares of movement that you can move any of your pieces orthogonally only. And orthogonally is up, down, left, right, not diagonally. So, as the green player here, I have my pieces. So I have 3 squares of movement. I can use 1 person to move all 3 squares. I can use 2 people, or I can use 3 separate ones. However, I want to divvy that up. So, let's see here. I think I'm going to have Mr. Decaf just move up 1 space. Beardy I'm going to have move up another space. And Selfie's just going to shuffle over here. That was my movement phase. Now you go on to your action phase. With your action phase, you can play an elemental card, or you can go ahead and play an attack card. Your choice. You pick which one of your opponents is going to be using the attack card, and then you go ahead and play that attack card. So, for example, I have an attack card here, which is Gas Canister. Now, each of the attack cards is broken up into 4 sections here. So the first section is Notes. This tells you what it does. Next up is the range of it. The D is the damage that it does, and M is movement, if there are any movement rules with this card. So let's go ahead and let's see here. Let's have Butch. So Butch is right here. So Butch is going to go ahead and use this gas canister. So first thing you do is you read the notes, and it says throw at an unoccupied tile, and it explodes if that tile is on fire. Well, we have no fire on the board. There are fire tokens. I'll explain those in just a second. So then you look at the range. Up to 3 tiles, and affects the surrounding tiles of the target tile. So let's go ahead and say he's going to throw this up to 3, so he can throw it right here. So he's going to throw that gas canister right here. Then the damage. 1 hit point to enemy pawns in the target area, 2 hit points if the canister explodes. Well, the canister didn't explode, so it's just going to do this damage first. So 1 hit point to enemy pawns in the target area. So this is targeting all the surrounding tiles of the target tile. So this one is going to affect here, all here. It's also going to affect these 2 pawns. So Cuttlefish and Twitch are both going to get blasted with this gas canister. So they're both going to take 1 point of damage each. And the player who has those will mark that onto their player boards. Then you go on to movement. So affected pawns are moved 1 tile backwards if the canister explodes. So this brings up something very interesting. So let me just zoom in here and show you just what happens. So Twitch took 1 point of damage, but then he goes backwards 1 space. Cuttlefish will take 1 point of damage, and he will move backwards, but oh no, he runs into standstill. So that is called a collision. So when a collision occurs, both of the pawns will take 1 damage, so Cuttlefish takes an additional damage. Standstill will take a damage. Then the person pushing will take that square, and normally Standstill would go into the next square. Unfortunately, there isn't one, so he can go left or right. Well, he can't go this way because Twitch is in the way. So he'll have to go in the other direction, which now lands him in water. Water are one of the hazards there. Fortunately, the pawns cannot swim very well, so he has to take 1 more point of damage and swim to an adjacent square. So what he can do is he can swim here, or he can swim to this to the grass or to the dry grass. He's going to swim all the way here to the dry grass. So Standstill took some pretty big damage. Cuttlefish took some pretty big damage. Twitch just took 1 damage, but that was a really, really good turn for green, especially in the opening sequence of the game. And let me go ahead and explain some of the other tiles that are on the board here. So we have the brown tiles here, which are just dirt. Nothing really affects dirt. Dirt's just dirt. There is regular grass here, and regular grass can catch on fire. Dry grass definitely has the potential for catching on fire, and if dry grass catches on fire, it can affect other areas. Then we just went over the water area. The pawns can't swim very well, so if you go into a water area, you take 1 point of damage and you have to go to an adjacent square. If you ever have to go through more than 1, you're going to have to take even more damage. There are cards in the game that will affect the tiles. As I said, that there are fire tiles that you can possibly do. So you can set fire to some of the tiles, and that could even potentially do some really, really big damage. There are also ice tiles. Ice tiles will freeze the water tiles so that way the opponents can walk on them. But if ever an ice tile catches fire, it'll go back to a water tile. And then we have tiles that are more grass and more dirt. There are also some more dry grass and some more water tokens. And then there are holes. If your pawn ever falls into a hole, that pawn is lost and that pawn is out of the game. Now that wasn't the entire turn for green. Green has still one more thing that green can do. The last thing green can do is green is allowed to play any first aid cards if they want to. So they can play a health card. So they don't really have any damage on their side, so they don't have to use this card just yet. But if they did, they could play this card. Playing a single pawn, the pawn heals 2 hit points. Standard hit point maximum still applies, so he can go up to his maximum of 5. Well, none of my guys have any damage at this time, but on the blue player's turn, if they have something similar to this, they might want to play it. Some of the other types of cards here. There is something called a hurricane. This is one of the elemental cards you can play instead of attacking. So you pick a pawn and you pick which one is going to be going ahead and doing this. And this one says hurricane. Pick any direction. All pawns move 1 tile in that direction. Pawns who hit water must swim in the direction of the wind and land on the next unoccupied tile in that direction. If that tile is blocked, or if it is a border, they swim to an available bordering tile. So this can really wreak havoc on the game. This can make everybody just go whoosh and adjust. So that is very interesting. Let's see if I can find something else here. There are things like ivy that you can play onto another opponent's pawn. So if they're on grass, they get snared in ivy, and then they cannot move until they're healed or until somebody attacks them. There's things like fire hose. That is an attack, but you can also use it to put out fires, which is really, really good. Smelly bag of smells. This is something I got to use in my last game. You can chuck a smelly bag of smells at one of your opponents, and then no other pawns will go within 1 tile away from them because they stank. Blood transfusion allows you to transfer hit points from one of your opponents to another. There is reflector, which you can use to counter an attack. So if somebody is attacking you, you can cast reflector and then it'll go bounce back to them. That would have been really good for blue in our example, because then that would have bounced back to the pawn that was attacking it. There is dark transfer, where you can take some of your opponent's life and bring it into your own guy. Ring of fire makes a ring of fire around your pawn and sets fire to all of the stuff around it, which is very, very interesting. So those are just the basics of pawn.
This program is part of the Pathological Nerdcasters Network. Find more at pncn.rocks, where all the geeks come to play.
So that's just a quick overview of how Pawns is played. As I said in the beginning, you will go until all of your opponents have been eliminated and you have at least 1 pawn on the board. There is a chance that you could blow yourself up. There are chances that you can do your own self some pretty nasty damage. But this game is a lot of chaotic fun. It's all about how much chaos can you do and still protect your own stuff. This game can be very strategic as to what card you want to play, where you want to move your dudes, and it is a lot of fun. Just looking at it, it doesn't look like there's much here. It looks very cartoony and very deceiving. This game has a good amount of strategy in it, but not enough to scare away people who don't like super heavy strategy games, like myself. This is something that's definitely going to hit the table again. I really, really enjoyed this. The little characters are fun because they have a little bit of quirk to them that doesn't really affect how they move or anything like that. But it's very interesting when you decide what you want to do and how you want to move your guys around. I also like that it is a variable setup. So you have 5 different tiles or more depending on how the Kickstarter goes. But you have so many starting tiles and they have a different distribution of the types of land and everything. So it does make it very interesting how every game is going to be different. You don't know, you don't have a specific strategy, be like, oh, I'm always going to go here, here, and here, and here, because I know how the game is set up. Well, this one's always different. And that's something I really, really like about it. So if this looks like something you might enjoy, go ahead and check out their Kickstarter page. I'll have a link down below as soon as that is available. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and help support Cloak and Meeple. I have my Patreon link right over there, along with my subscribe button right down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again.